What's up, guys? John Stargarian here, and I want to talk briefly about my play on Nik Lentz against Arnold Allen. So if you like the video, please drop a like and subscribe. So right now I'm playing Nik Lentz for 1 unit at plus 210, and frankly, that's a bad line. I picked it up right after it opened on Tuesday, and you could probably get it up at around plus 240 right now, depending on the book. So I taped this fight on Sunday night, and I came away from it. So initially, I thought this was going to be a near even money fight. Maybe Allen is a slight favorite. And I thought that because Lentz had been favored in his original matchup in Dan Narimani. And the truth of the matter is, I don't think Allen at this stage of his career, now keep in mind he's young and he's progressing fight to fight, but I don't think he's that much better than Narimani. So I had capped it. So I figured Lentz at minus 120 against Narimani, Allen was likely to be around the same, maybe a slight favorite. And so I capped Allen conservatively around minus 130, and in the rosiest possible scenario around minus 150, or about a 60% chance to win this fight. And I figured I'd play him because if he came out near even money, that would be decent value. And then I was stunned when the line opened up, and it opened at Allen minus 275. And I don't get that for a couple reasons. So first of all, I had been a big Allen fan for a while, and I actually bet him really heavily 2 fights ago in his fight against Jordan Rinaldi. I'd been a fan because he's got a lot of decent tools. He's got decent offensive wrestling, really good ground and pound, some decent chokes, and he's got really, really good boxing. He obviously had some issues himself coming in though. And, one of the reasons the Rinaldi line had been so low was because he had shown some issues defending the takedown in the past. And so the Rinaldi fight happened, and I came away feeling 2 things. One, I was right because Allen won the fight relatively easily. But second of all, he made an interesting adjustment. So he had been taken down 6 times by Mads Burnell, 4 times by Makwan Amirkhani, and 2 times by Alan Omer. And he had some real issues with it because he's a boxing-based fighter. He was originally an amateur boxer, and he was always very heavy on the front leg, so it made quick entries. It made him very susceptible to quick entries, and you saw him get taken down and controlled a few times. And frankly, he could have lost the Amirkhani fight, and he was going to lose the Burnell fight until he snatched a submission late in round 3. So I went into the Rinaldi fight and bet him because I know Rinaldi's a ground-based fighter, but Rinaldi's wrestling is not very good, and I figured even if he got him down, he was unlikely to hold him there. Now, Allen obviously knew that weakness, and he made an adjustment there, which was he went a lot lighter on his front leg, he sat back, and just basically countered the whole fight, which was effective in that fight, but it was actually disturbing to me for a couple reasons. First of all, because the volume he threw at that fight was so low. Jordan Rinaldi, like I said, was unlikely to be able to keep him on the ground, and for him to only land 37 significant strikes over 15 minutes was a little disturbing, and his ratio wasn't great as Rinaldi landed 31 on him. Second of all, it presents an interesting issue in this fight as Allen was really content to give ground and Rinaldi never really forced his way forward. So that brings me back to this fight right now. So he's fighting Nik Lentz, and I'll say this. So we don't really know how much Allen's cleaned up his wrestling defense. He was fine against Rinaldi, but he only had to defend 3 takedowns. And as I mentioned, he's a submission grappler. He's not a very good wrestler. So that really didn't tell us much. And in his last fight, he beat up a really old Gilbert Melendez who hadn't fought in about 3 years. So we, again, really don't know if he's cleaned that up at all. And now he comes to this fight with Lentz, and Lentz is arguably a better wrestler than Amirkhani and Burnell. His entries aren't as fast, but once he gets you tied up and he gets a body lock on you, he's ruthlessly efficient at getting the fight down and maintaining that lock on you as well. He just will not give you space. You saw that 2 fights ago when he fought Scott Holtzman. I actually bet Holtzman that fight. And Holtzman's a big guy too, and he's probably a little bit better defending takedowns than Allen is. And Lentz got in there and basically was able to just grind him for 2 rounds. He was able to just cling to him, keep him against the fence, just take him down over and over and over again, and just not give any breathing room. And I think Lentz has a real chance to be able to implement a similar game plan here. So as I mentioned, Allen's defense of the takedown against Rinaldi was to really sit back on his back foot and look to counter. And he's got good boxing, like I said. He's very sharp boxing, straight punches, good counter. He's got a decent left kick. But if he does that here, as I imagine he may, because Lentz, as I said, is a very good wrestler. Lentz averages about 3.45 takedowns for 15 minutes, and he actually attempts 11, which is a really high ratio. So Allen knows he's going to be facing, pressure wrestling from Lentz here. And if he does that, though, what I fear for him is Lentz, he's just going to let Lentz come forward, and that's how Lentz likes to work. Lentz likes to be pushing forward, striking moving forward, pushing into, forcing the clinch moving forward. Lentz is really at his worst when he gets backed up. You saw it in the third round of that Holtzman fight. He was backing him up and just teeing off on him. And if Allen is going to be just defend the takedown with being light on the front leg and staying back, I have to imagine Lentz is going to be able to work his way forward and eventually find the clinch. So, and if Lentz finds the clinch and can consistently find the clinch, every round is going to be very competitive here. Now, all that being said, the obvious caveat here is Allen may have leveled up his skills a bit. He leveled up his volume last fight against Melendez. Again, I'm not really sure how much to take from that because it's Gilbert Melendez and he'd been out for 3 years, but he landed over 100 significant strikes in 15 minutes, which is very impressive. And at range in this fight, Allen should have a very pronounced advantage. I expect him to be able to hit Lentz at will. And if this fight actually played out at range for 15 minutes, I think Allen would have a real chance to actually knock him out, as I think Lentz's chin's getting a little weaker. He's moving down in weight here to featherweight. He hasn't fought here in a while. And he just, I don't think can keep up with Allen out there. So, and then even if it's not at range, there's always the possibility that, there's the possibility that Allen can defend the takedowns consistently, and the possibility that he can just get up with ease and break the clinch and just get back into space. And that's why I capped him as a favorite here, because he's younger, he's more athletic, he's probably stronger. And I do think there's a good chance that he can get himself back up very quickly, get back in space, and land shots. I think more likely than not, he'll be able to keep the fight in space and in his range long enough to win 2 rounds. That said, though, we've seen Allen grind it in the past. We saw Burnell do it before he got him in submission. We saw Murakami do it, and Murakami faded down the stretch hard, as he tends to do. I'm not sure we'll see Lentz fade here, and my issue with it, and the reason I don't think you can go higher than minus 150 for Allen or a 60% chance, is until we see Allen consistently defend takedowns from a good wrestler, we can't make the assumption he's going to do it. I think there is a good possibility he will. He trains at TriStar. He's apparently been wrestling at Montreal Wrestling Academy. And so there's a good chance he'll do it. And I think his get-ups aren't bad. But I don't think we can definitively say that. And I certainly don't think you can say it's enough of a given to cap him up close to 75%, which is where he's at right now, and to win this 3 out of 4. On top of that, as I mentioned, his output went up last fight. But prior to that fight, he had been putting out only about 2 significant strikes a minute. And now he's up to around 3. And Lentz still outvolumes him. And while I do favor Allen in space, for sure, no question, I'd say he's a heavy favorite if this took place in space the whole time. It's not inconceivable that Lentz could keep up with him out there on volume. We saw him, he lost to David Tamer, but he landed 61 significant strikes against Tamer and only received 67 back. And I frankly rank Tamer as a better fighter than Allen here. So basically what I'm getting at is, Lentz is fading. His best days are probably behind him. Allen is still young. He's still getting better fight to fight. And I have no problem with him being capped as the favorite here. And frankly, I do expect him to win this fight. And I think he's got a real chance to finish in this fight. But that said, I think you can't really cap him over 60%. And the current line is a 75% implied probability. And to me, if you're making a bet here, it's all about value. That's what we're looking for. And if I cap Lentz as 40% to win, and we're getting 7 or 8% extra points in value here, I have to take it. So, that's the play. I think Lentz wins this fight close to 40% of the time. So I'm playing him for a unit at plus 210. And as I said, you can get him at around plus 240 currently. And I think that's a really good line. So that's my play. I'm playing Nik Lentz. Prediction is probably Allen by 2nd round KO. But like I said, I do think there's value on Lentz. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Follow or fade, and thanks a lot. Bye-bye.